The webinar will begin shortly. Please remain on the line. The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
All right, welcome everyone. Thanks for joining us today. My name is Eric Choi. I'm the Product Marketing Manager for Eucalyptus, and we're happy to have you here today to talk about what's new in Eucalyptus 3.3. We've got a few of our esteemed colleagues here. We've got Shashi Mysore, who's the Director of Product Management, Jenny Loza, who's our Principal User Experience Architect, and Colby Dice, our Senior Alliances Manager, here with us to talk to you about Eucalyptus 3.3. Just one housekeeping item before we get started. If you have any questions, please ask them throughout today's session through the questions panel in your GoToWebinar interface, and we'll get to them live on the air towards the end of the session during the Q&A portion. So with that, I just want to run two quick polls to just find out who's in the audience today. So what I'm going to do is launch a quick poll. Where are you joining us from today? Apologies that I couldn't get a little more specific here. GoToWebinar only allows us to do 5 multiple choice answers. But if you can select what region you're joining us from today, please select one. One of the regions there: Americas, the EMEA region, Asia, Australia, New Zealand, or other. And once we're done with that, we'll go ahead and close the poll and share the results. All right, thanks everybody. I'll just share that so that everyone can get a feel for who's in the audience. So a large majority in the Americas, followed by EMEA and Asia. And good to see some folks staying up late, or maybe early, in Australia and New Zealand. So thanks for that. One more poll and then we'll go ahead and get started. Let's talk about who's in the audience based on your current roles. So again, apologies I couldn't go a little bit deeper here, but are you a developer? Are you a QA engineer? Are you an ops? Are you an architect or other? Let us know, and perhaps we can tailor the content a little bit as much as we can so that you get the most value out of this. So we'll leave the poll open for just a few more seconds, and then again I'll share the results. All righty. Thanks for participating. So it looks like a third of you are in that other category, and it's too bad that we couldn't break that out more. But then architect and ops, followed up by developers. Okay, so Shashi, Jenny, and Colby, hopefully that gives you a little more insight into who's in the audience today. And with that, my portion is done. I will turn it over to Shashi, and it's all yours.
Thank you, Eric. Hello, everybody. Welcome again. My name is Shashi Mysore. I'm the Director of Product Management at Eucalyptus Systems. For those of you on the call today that are new to Eucalyptus, let me start with a brief introduction. Eucalyptus is a software solution for building your own AWS-compatible cloud that runs on-premise as a private cloud or as a hybrid cloud. And in either case, Eucalyptus runs completely within your firewall. Eucalyptus deploys on your hardware and gives you both flexibility in terms of choice of the operating system, hypervisor, virtualization technology, storage, compute, and networking devices you would like to use. And at the same time, it also gives you complete control because you own not just the resources in the cloud, but also the underlying infrastructure that drives the cloud. From its inception, Eucalyptus has focused around providing choice to our users. You may have applications that are most suited for a public cloud environment. You may have applications that need to run on your infrastructure in a private cloud environment. Or you may have workloads that leverage the best of public and private cloud worlds. There are kind of 3 key enablers for such flexible deployment models. First of all, we need similarity in services functionality, provisioning compute, persistent storage abstractions, block storage, object storage, the security groups and security models. And then number two, you need similarity in semantics and resource behavior. So when what happens when you spin up instances or allocate AWS volumes or associate an instance to a particular security group and so on. So the behavior of the resources that you have in-house in your private cloud and those that you have in your public cloud need to be similar. And not just similar, they need to be consistently similar between private and public clouds for you to be able to build a seamless hybrid cloud. And three, you also need compatibility of the APIs that these services expose. Eucalyptus pioneers in providing all these with respect to the predominant public cloud, Amazon Web Services or AWS public cloud. We provide EC2-like service. So when you deploy Eucalyptus, you get S3-like object store, you get Elastic Block Store, identity and access management. And with Eucalyptus 3.3, we have introduced Elastic Load Balancing, auto-scaling, CloudWatch, resource tagging, and we continue to add newer services with every release. Currently, the ability to move images back and forth between a private Eucalyptus cloud and a public AWS cloud is extremely important. In addition, you also can use Eucalyptus tools, AWS tools, or other third-party tools in the AWS ecosystem with both Eucalyptus and your AWS cloud. So in essence, building a hybrid cloud is easy and does not require extensive re-architecture nor re-engineering of your tools and applications, nor mindset. And by the way, if you haven't already mentioned this, Eucalyptus is fully open source and available in the form of source code or packaged binaries for various Linux distributions. Full production grade, free to download from our website at www.eucalyptus.com. Eucalyptus looks differently to different people based on who you are and where you're looking from. For administrators and users that need a self-service provisioning interface, we have a Eucalyptus user console. Jenny Loza, our principal UX architect, is with us today to demo some of the cool features in our user console a bit later in the webinar. For those that are more comfortable with a command line interface, we also provide CLIs, or command line interface tools. And of course, we expose REST-based APIs that are compatible with Amazon Web Service APIs, as well as support a variety of AWS SDKs for programmatic access to cloud resources. Now, before I get into the details, here is what you can expect from this webinar. We will begin by giving some real-world examples of Eucalyptus clouds used for dev test purposes. We will follow that up with a quick overview of some of the key features that are now available as part of Eucalyptus 3.3, which, by the way, was GA'd last month and is available for download from our website. We will then switch gears to demo mode. Jenny will demonstrate Eucalyptus user console. This will be followed by a section specifically highlighting how some of the new features in 3.3 are being leveraged to create dynamically scalable dev test environments with Jenkins, Swarm, and other tools. Colby Dice, our Senior Alliance Solution Manager, and Harold Spencer, mostly from the background, from our customer success team, will do a live demo. We will follow that up with a Q&A session. In the interest of time, for this webinar, we will focus on just excuse me, 2 or 3 customers that are using Eucalyptus as a foundational cloud for their dev test environments. However, if you are interested in learning more about our customers and reviewing some case studies, please feel free to follow the links shown on the screen. Now let me begin with AppDynamics. AppDynamics is one of our customers, and they provide an application performance management and monitoring solution used by many internet companies, including Netflix. Their test workloads run on Eucalyptus, mimicking the production workload of their customers that run on AWS. For AppDynamics, running tests on their own hardware gives them a lot more control and flexibility. And of course, thanks to Eucalyptus AWS API compatibility, their QA tooling which was originally based on AWS API, could be utilized to work with Eucalyptus in-house without any re-engineering. Nokia Siemens Networks, NSN, is another example. NSN is a manufacturer of broadband equipment with a global install base. They use Eucalyptus to test software that powers the next generation mobile networks. Thousands of developers across the globe utilize tens of thousands of instances every month from NSN's private Eucalyptus cloud for their development, testing, building, and R&D purposes. The self-service automation makes a globally distributed team of developers at NSN more agile, efficient, and most importantly, fosters innovation. Just imagine how much more you and your organization will be able to deliver if you could do 1,000 times more builds and tests per month in your organization, maybe starting next month. A third example that I would like to walk you through is Mosaic. Basically Mosaic Solutions is the source of geospatial network intelligence that has a wide variety of applications. It's pretty diverse, all the way from better intelligence for marketing and network branding to enterprise applications to mobile roaming to content distribution and even strategic planning. And Mosaic uses Eucalyptus for testing and analytics purposes. Once again, thanks to our AWS API compatibility with Eucalyptus, Mosaic gets the flexibility and choice to run on their hardware and borrow additional capacity from AWS as and when needed. What we call own the base and rent the spunk. In essence, having a solution that is well packaged, installs in minutes, and runs on commodity hardware of your choice is the need of the hour. And Eucalyptus emphasizes this theme of it just works quite a bit and is getting better with every release. We continue to add new services compatible with Amazon Web Services, as well as provide features such as high availability, integration with VMware, SAN adapter integrations, and so on and so forth. Now moving on, let's spend a couple of minutes talking about the features that we have introduced in Eucalyptus 3.3, which was GA'd in June. At a high level, they fall in three different buckets. AWS compatible services. We have CloudWatch, auto scaling, and elastic load balancing that we introduced in 3.3. And then AWS related compatibility enhancements or improvements, such as resource tagging, the ability to associate resource tags and filter based on these tags. And we've also expanded the number of instance types. We will talk about those in detail in just a couple of minutes. And then from a cloud administrator perspective, we've introduced a bunch of operations, one of them being maintenance mode for node controllers in the cloud. CloudWatch in Eucalyptus, just like it is in Amazon Web Services, provides a very reliable and a flexible metric gathering or a monitoring solution, which allows applications and developers, and even cloud administrators to programmatically define metrics, collect metrics, set alarms, identify trends, and take actions to ensure their cloud and their applications run smoothly. These metrics could be either predefined, Eucalyptus comes with a bunch of basic metrics, or you can even add your own custom metrics to the cloud. Elastic load balancing is, again, another AWS compatible service which distributes incoming application traffic across multiple Eucalyptus instances. This basically provides a lot more fault tolerance to the applications if you want to design it that way. We currently use software load balancers to enable this functionality in 3.3. In subsequent releases, we plan on enhancing this to support other hardware-based load balancers as well. Auto scaling allows application developers and cloud administrators to scale Eucalyptus resources up or down based on policies which they define using Amazon EC2 compatible APIs and tools. As the demand on application spikes, the cloud resources can be seamlessly increased or decreased to maintain performance and meet SLAs. And later in the webinar today, you will see how Some of the features like autoscaling and CloudWatch can be used or can be combined to build dynamically scalable dev test environments. So stay tuned for the demo in a couple of minutes. Resource tagging is another feature that we've introduced in Eucalyptus 3.3. Resource tagging allows application developers and cloud administrators to assign customizable metadata to resources in Eucalyptus. And these resources could be instances, they could be images, they could be EVS volumes. You can now essentially define and use these tags to organize and filter your cloud resources. We've also expanded the basic instance types in Eucalyptus to be more aligned with AWS instance types. Until 3.3, we had about 5 different instance types that you could define in Eucalyptus. And in 3.3, we've expanded that to be around 15 different instance types that you get to define or redefine to map closely to the needs of your workloads and use cases. Well, from a cloud administrator's perspective, the ability to put a node under maintenance is extremely important. You can expect failures or partial failures in your environment. You can see partial disk failures or partial memory corruptions, network interruptions, and so on and so forth. So the administrator needs to be able to define or to specify a node that needs to go under maintenance. But it is even more important for the administrator to ensure that the users of the instances running on that node see no downtime or any kind of disruption for that matter, while maintenance is being scheduled or is being performed on a particular node. So with Eucalyptus 3.3, we've introduced the ability for the cloud administrator to put a node in maintenance mode. And when we do so, Eucalyptus will first quarantine that node so that no new instances can be scheduled on that particular node. And then Eucalyptus will automatically evacuate all the instances running on that node in such a way that the end users of the instances see zero downtime. And that's basically the maintenance mode operation that leverages the underlying hypervisors, live migration functionalities. Okay, a quick checkpoint on where we are. We covered some real-world examples with App Dynamics, with NSN, with Mosaic, on how they are leveraging Eucalyptus today to build an elastic, scalable, hybrid dev test environment. We spoke about some of the key features we have released in Eucalyptus 3.3, and now let's move on to more exciting stuff, demonstration of some of the functionalities and use cases. We will begin with Jenny, who will walk us through the Eucalyptus user console, and then Colby and Harold demonstrate how the features in 3.3 are being used in the field to build a dynamically scalable dev test environment using Jenkins, Swarm, and Eucalyptus 3.3. Okay, Eucalyptus user console demo. Jenny, the floor is yours.
Hi, can everyone hear me and see my screen?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay, great. So what I'm going to be showing you today is some of the new features in the Eucalyptus 3.3 release. And after that, I'm also going to be running through a quick, exciting tech preview of some upcoming features that we've got in the 3.3.1 release. So to start off, we're looking at the Eucalyptus user console, which is a web-based interface for cloud users to do self-service provisioning of their cloud resources. So here we can see the Eucalyptus dashboard that shows the various resources that I currently have running in this cloud. As you can see, if you look at the instances section, I'm looking at all my availability zones. I have 3 instances currently running. So let's go ahead and click on those and see what happens. One of the new features that we've implemented in the user console for 3.3 is the magic search bar. which allows for faceted searching on multiple search facets. And you can see here that when I click through on the running instances from the dashboard, the filter is already pre-populated with a facet for the running status. And you can see here I have 3 currently running instances. So let's assume that for some reason I'm having a problem with my instances that are in my default security group. So I can very quickly just click in the magic search bar and go ahead and select security group default, and you can see that my list has changed from 3 instances down to just the 2 that are in the default security group. You can add as many facets as you'd like. You can easily remove a single facet, or you can click over here on the icon in the far right to remove all the facets. And you can see now, I can see an instance that I terminated recently. So the magic search bar is really pretty handy and a nice, concise little tool that allows you to do filtering. So let's go ahead and look at some other things that we have in 3.3. We've talked briefly about resource tagging. Let me go ahead and make my screen a little bit bigger so we can show this. Okay, so now I'm launching an instance. I'm going to go ahead and select my image. There's only one on this cloud, so that makes it pretty easy. You can see here that we now support a whole lot of instance types, but I'll go ahead and just stick with an M1 small. An example of using resource tags is I can go ahead and name this instance, and you can see that that is actually implemented as a tag. So you can see it down here in our list of tags. So let's say I wanted to further identify this instance. I'm going to go ahead and assign it to software development department, and then I would like to add another tag. So I'll click here, and let's say I want to set up chargeback to go to the sustaining organization so that I can keep track of how things are getting billed in my organization. So I'll go ahead and, oh, well, look, I can go ahead and select a key I've already created. I'll put this guy in my demo security group. And let's go ahead and launch this instance. So you can see from the growl that the launch operation has started, and it'll take a little while for the instance to show up. And now here it is displaying in the table. You can see that my first 3 instances all have names assigned to them. So that name in the table will show up instead of the instance ID. These last 2 instances don't have names, and so all we're seeing is the instance ID, which is a little bit harder to remember. But if you need to see the instance ID, you can simply mouse over any of the names, and it will give you the ID for that instance. So let's go ahead and look at some other places where we've implemented resource tagging. We've implemented it for every resource type that EC2 and AWS supports. So let's go ahead and create a volume. I'm just going to give it the name sustaining because I want the sustaining organization to be able to use it. So let's go ahead and create this volume. So there it is. We've got the sustaining volume will show up. Here it is. It is currently in the process of starting up. So let's give it a minute to go ahead and do its thing. And then once it's available, now it's available, we can go ahead and attach it to an instance. So by selecting the volume and selecting attach to instance, another place where we have implemented resource tags is on all the dialogues where you have to select a resource. To help you select it, one of the nice things you can do with resource tagging is you can say, I can't remember that instance ID, that's just 8 digits, but I know it was webinar, and there is my webinar instance. So I've selected it, we've got it attaching as a device. We'll go ahead and attach that. So that is attaching. And you can see now that that volume has changed to in use. So let's go back and look at that instance again. Here we've got our instance webinar. And you can see now if you expand the information about this instance, We've got the instance name. We've also got the instance, oh, hello. We've also got the instance ID right here. And you can look at the volumes, and now you can see here's the volume that's attached to it, sustaining right there. And if you mouse over that, you also will get the volume ID if you need that. And you can see if we click over on the tags tab, here are all our tags that we've currently assigned to this instance. So let's say that I get a notice from my administrator that I've actually messed up these tags, and the chargeback should be going to the software development organization, and we really want to put this in the sustaining department. So I can go back and let's manage my tags. So now we can see I've got all these tags. So let's go ahead and edit. Oh, wait, I made a mistake and I deleted one by accident that I didn't mean to delete. But with the tag manager, you can simply select this undo tag deletion. And now that tag is back. So we can go ahead and edit these tags, and let's change the department to sustaining the way that it should be. And we'll change the chargeback to software dev, like that should be. And now everything is looking pretty good. So let's go ahead and save those changes. And you can see that our Expando has already updated to show that this is the sustaining department, and now the chargeback is going to software dev. So the next feature that we're going to demo today is being able to change your password in the user console. You used to have to go to the command line or to the admin console to do this, and you don't have to do that anymore. You can go ahead and go up here to your account drop-down, select change password, and you can enter your old password, your new password, and confirm that. And you can change your password easily. I'm not going to change the password now because we're in a demo and I don't want to have to log out and log back in. So these are the main 3.3 features. In 3.3.1, we've started to implement a graphical interface for some of the new features in 3.3 that we implemented in our backend. So now you're going to get a tech preview of things that are currently under development. So everyone just please remember that these are features under development, and so there may be things about them that aren't entirely perfect. They're not released yet, but this will be coming in 3.3.1. So I'm just going to show you this stuff because I can. So one of the things that we're implementing is auto-scaling in our UI. And AWS does not actually have a UI for this in their console, and we're putting it in ours. So here you can see the landing page for scaling groups. I've already set up a scaling group on this cloud because our wizard for creating a new scaling group isn't entirely complete yet, so I won't be showing you that. But when this is released, you'll simply be able to click Create New Scaling Group, and there will be a wizard to walk you through creating a scaling group, adding policies to that scaling group, setting up CloudWatch alarms to trigger your policies, all in an easy-to-follow wizard. So first off, the first thing you have to do when you create a scaling group is get a launch configuration for that scaling group. You can see here I've got a couple of launch configurations, but let's go ahead and create a new one. This wizard should look very familiar. We'll go ahead and select our image. It's the only one that we currently have. We can give this launch config a name, and we can give it any instance size that we'd like, but we'll go ahead and stick with an M1 small. One nice thing about the workflows in our UI is if you wanted to create a new key pair, you don't have to leave the wizard or create a new security group. You don't have to leave the wizard to do that. You can simply create a key pair right from here. And that key pair is being downloaded. You can see from the ground that it's created and it's automatically selected. And we'll go ahead and put this guy in our demo security group as well. So another thing you can do once this is all completed is if you select Create Scaling Group using this launch configuration checkbox at the bottom, once you create this launch configuration, the workflow will take you directly into the Create Scaling Group wizard with this launch configuration already selected and ready to go. But since we're not demoing that, we're not going to show you that today. We're just going to go ahead and create this guy. You can see from the growl that he's being created. And it'll take a minute for him to show up. So, oh, there he is. You can see he's got a key, he's got a security group. I just created him. We're not really going to do much with him right now, so let's go ahead and delete him. And we can actually delete multiple launch configurations at the same time. So let's go ahead and we'll just delete a couple of these. Oh, it doesn't know about my new one for some reason. Well, see, this is tech preview. You never know what you're going to get. So we'll go ahead and delete that, see if that's working. It may not be working. Let's try to just delete one. Deleting one isn't working either. Well, okay, tech preview. That's how things go. So let's go ahead and look at our scaling group. You can see that we have a scaling group already set up, and in the Expando data, we've got some information about the scaling group. We can also see that there are currently 2 instances in this scaling group, and we can see their health status, their life cycle state. We can very easily see what our desired instances are, max and min. You can see we don't have any policies associated with the scaling group to get automated scaling happening based on CloudWatch. So let's go ahead and say that we need some more instances in this scaling group immediately. So what we'll do is, instead of waiting for a policy to kick in, we can go ahead and say, let's quick scale this guy. We've got 2 instances desired. We want to make this guy have 3 instances. We can go ahead and do that because our max is 5. So let's go ahead and scale this group. So we've started a quick scale operation here. You can see our desired instances is updating. Let's see how things are going. This doesn't seem to be updating. Interesting. Okay, well, tech preview. This did work earlier today. Not entirely sure what's going on there. Let's go ahead and look at the instances that we have running. So now it knows that we have 3 desired, but we don't have any launched yet. Let's go ahead and look and see if that's accurate. Yep, we still only have 2. A third one will be getting launched, but let's say that we wanted to terminate one of these. We could easily terminate it here. Of course, again, we're not going to want to terminate this instance right now. So rather than immediately starting to terminate, you can always cancel your termination. And we're not going to do anything with these because I don't know how this code is really going to behave. So let's go ahead and close out of that. And then, just like any other resource, you can always delete a scaling group as well. So you can see here, here's our scaling group name. If we wanted to delete that, we would click delete, but I think to be safe, we will just click cancel. So that's a quick and somewhat unpredictable tech preview of what we've got coming in 3.3.1 and what we've already got implemented in the user console for 3.3. So I hope everyone enjoyed that, and if you have any questions, I'll be available to answer them in Q&A. Thanks. Let's go ahead and kick it over to the next presenter.
It's Colby. I hope you guys can see this.
Yep, we can.
Perfect. And thanks, Jenny. Tech previews. They are fun, but I am excited about what you guys are creating there. So we're going to talk a little bit about the dev test use case before I launch into this demo. I just want to take a couple minutes to discuss this common use case. In a way, it's not even surprising that dev test is so popular for Eucalyptus users when you consider it was one of the leading use cases when Amazon Web Services got its start. So dev tests could mean many different things to each of us, or something different to each of us, and we get a diverse group here. I think, holistically and at a really high level, dev test simply just refers to the various tools and practices used to produce software. And also at a high level, we tend to see a common profile for those environments. For instance, it tends to include a collection of independent but related activities happening at different times and using different configurations and policies. And you might have an example of compiling a mainline that could require the full build and large-scale testing, but building a patch might only mean compiling a module and running targeted tests. And then there's the acquiring and freeing of resources, which tend to be problematic in traditional IT environments, much less so in cloud. So, if you're traditional IT, it might take a while to get like 10 more machines to scale, to do your scale testing. And then when you're done, you might not even want to give them back because it was so painful to get those. And that's actually related to the bursty workload characteristic. It's basically saying that, well, capacity spikes will occur at specific phases. You don't actually always know when they'll start or how many resources you're going to need, or even for how long. And then finally, there's this need to account for the resources. Dev test workloads run on hardware that is distinctly separate from production for lots of good reasons. But dev test systems also tend to be shared by multiple application development teams. And for many organizations, it's important or even necessary to track the utilization of those shared resources, usually by team. And that's mostly to help secure funding for more systems in the future. Excuse me. So, adopting a cloud, and I'm sure many of you on the call have already, on this webinar have already done that, but adopting the cloud can offer several benefits. A few of them shown here. Reducing the delays because the cloud's self-service provisioning method streamlines resource acquisition. It makes it nearly instantaneous. And then having the choice to use a web interface or a command line tool or an API gives dev and QA teams an option to use different tools, which we'll see here, or different processes to acquire the resources, even programmatically setting up the environments. And they can keep things consistent. Machine images can themselves either be software containers that have everything required to perform a given task, or a base image onto which a standard set of tools are installed upon, typically during startup. The images could be customized. They could be version controlled or cataloged, typically to ensure that there's a repeatable deployment. And consistent environments, as you know, are critical to keeping dev, test, and even product support activities running smoothly. So for organizations needing rigorous control of their environment, access control and quotas can be defined by user, by group, for different resources. And then you can even define lease policies that essentially garbage collect instances so they may be used by others on the team. Or you could even isolate dev, test, and production activities to specific availability zones and resources to avoid cross-team interference. And then going back to that bursty load issue we talked about a couple moments ago, the ability to meet this unexpected demand can be critical. So when you combine the ability to programmatically provision resources, to instantly leverage unused capacity, and to automatically free resources when they're not used, you end up with an environment that can handle unexpected spikes in your dev test activities. In fact, we're going to show you some of the new Eucalyptus services and how they can be applied to your own continuous integration environment. So the setup I'm going to use for our demo today, it's similar to that of many of our existing users. So we're going to use Jenkins and the Jenkins Swarm plugin. Jenkins, for those of you who don't know, it's a widely deployed open source continuous integration platform. It automatically handles scheduling jobs like code compilation, QA testing, deploying applications, etc. When we're also going to use CloudWatch and autoscaling services in Eucalyptus 3.3 to ensure that our Jenkins environment has the resources it needs to keep things running smoothly. This will automatically refresh. So what we're looking at right now is the Jenkins environment. Let me get almost. And up at the top center, oops, jumped ahead. Pardon me. I am my own tech preview. Uh, so up here at the top, what you see are the jobs that Jenkins is managing and their status. And over here are the Jenkins slaves where the jobs get run. And you'll see I just kicked off a couple of these jobs, but we're currently running the base number of slaves. That's 2. And it's using all of the executors. So I'm going to kick off another job here, my test load job. And we're not going to have to worry about it getting stuck behind the long-running jobs because the environment will grow to meet demand. So you'll see that the job is put into a queue state when there's no capacity, and then just momentarily it detects that we were out of capacity and adds another instance to this pool of resources, and now we've got our test load running on that job. So there's no work on my side to make that happen, right? It was all pre-configured, and let me show you how that works. So we're looking at the Eucalobo interface. Let me expand this so we don't have to see the refresh. Eucalobo, it's a hybrid cloud management tool. It's an alternative to what we'd seen just before. And this is actually an enhanced version of the Elastic Wolf project. This one allows you to manage both Eucalyptus and AWS resources in the same interface. Here we're going to take a look at the primary auto-scaling group used to dynamically scale our Jenkins environment. You'll see that we've got a minimum capacity of 2, so that Eucalyptus will ensure we always have no less than 2 slaves for our continuous integration environment. And then we've also capped ourselves at 6 slaves. I mean, in your own environment, you'll set it up the minimums and maximums based on your own needs or your own cloud capacity. But finally, you see that this cloud group is bound to a launch configuration for the called Jenkins Swarm demo. So we'll just take a quick look at that. Okay, here you see the rules. Much like what Jenny had shown us, when you're defining this launch configuration, there's the image we want this thing to run. Here's the key pair that we want to use, and here's the instance size. And then we'll also need a scaling policy. And within our scaling policy, we're going to tell the auto-scaling service how many instances we want it to add when an alarm is triggered. And here you'll see very simple. We're going to simply add a single instance whenever all the Jenkins slaves are in use. And then after we put those rules in place, we're going to configure our CloudWatch service to monitor the available Jenkins slave capacity. Let me just show you what the alarm looks like here. Okay, now here we told CloudWatch to check that the capacity has not gone below the minimum threshold. In this case, we're checking that we have at least 1 slave available. And then as soon as all the slaves are busy, CloudWatch will trigger an alarm, and that'll kick the auto-scaling group to grow the capacity according to its policy. And so that's how we ended up with this environment here, where we started with 2 and suddenly we ended up with 3 because that was the need that we had. These configurations happen, they only need to happen the once, and then the test teams, they don't need to worry about this. The backend cloud environment will go ahead and dynamically set up the capacity needed for your continuous integration environment. So there you have it, CI using CloudWatch and auto-scaling with Eucalyptus 3.3 to dynamically scale your Jenkins capacity. With that, I will go back to the presentation. Oh, one last thing. If I rip through the demo too quickly, we do have a copy of that demo. We have a recorded version of this up on YouTube. There's the bit.ly URL to get you there easily. And with that, I hand it back over to Eric.
All right, terrific. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Colby, Shashi, and Jenny. All right, so I'll switch it over to my screen now. And as we segue into the Q&A portion, let me just remind folks how they can get started. So let's see, tell me what you can see, guys.
Looking at your PowerPoint screen.
Okay, all right, so you can see the try it free there?
Yep.
Okay, All right, so folks in the audience, you can download Eucalyptus Fast Start. You can actually download the full open source software. If you visit eucalyptus.com/faststart, you can get your cloud up and running with a proof of concept, sort of what we call the mini cloud, in as little as 30 minutes. Or if you're an experienced cloud admin, go ahead and download the full Eucalyptus. So with that, why don't we go ahead and get started with the questions? There are a lot. So if we don't get to your question, apologies in advance, but we can certainly follow up with you afterwards. So I'm going to do this in the order that they came in. First question's from David. Can we use Python Boto to interact with Eucalyptus?
Totally.
All right.
Yeah, actually, so a little bit more to that. There's a wiki page that we've got out on GitHub. I think if you just search for Eucalyptus AWS compatibility or Eucalyptus compatibility, you'll find this wiki page that lists all the third-party tools that the Eucalyptus team and many of our community members have gone ahead and tested. And they validate that those third-party tools work with Eucalyptus unchanged or perhaps with only small changes. All that's documented on the wiki page, but Boto's a big one. Yep.
Terrific. All right. Thanks, Colby. Question from Wes came in. Does the Elastic Load Balancer use something like HA Proxy or Nginx to perform load balancing, or have we developed a new load balancer on the back end?
Yeah, I can take that. We currently use HA Proxy. Okay, can you hear me?
Yep.
Yes.
All right. Yeah, we currently use HA Proxy as the backend load balancer, the software load balancer. But that does not preclude our users from uploading their own software load balancers. You know, for example, if you would like to have an Nginx-based EMI uploaded into the cloud, you can do so. But currently, 3.3 ships with as a default software load balancer being HA Proxy.
All right, next question. Is Eucalyptus a good tool only for testing and QA before deployment on AWS, or can we use it for mission-critical applications in production while using AWS as a backup if the local server fails?
Absolutely, yeah. So that's a classic hybrid use case scenario that we find a lot of our customers in. You know, an example that comes to my mind would be Event Live, where they have re-architected their applications to run the Elastic, you know, the CDN requirements on the application side to run in AWS, and all of the backend runs on Eucalyptus on their own private cloud. So the combination is actually their production service. So they have certain sets of applications running, production applications running in Eucalyptus, and certain other parts that need to be auto scaled to an infinite resource scale, quote unquote infinite, on AWS that might use, you know, their global content distribution network.
All right, terrific. Here's just an administrative question that I can answer. One question was if you can post the YouTube link or all of the other URLs. And absolutely what we'll do is send you a link with the slides as well as the recording of this webinar so that you can access them on demand. And the slides will have the links that you can then access those videos or URLs. All right, next up, Shashi, I believe this was earlier during your part of the presentation. Matt wanted to know if you can reiterate if those were live migrations?
That is correct, yes. We leverage the underlying live migration functionality from the hypervisor to provide the maintenance mode migration functionality to cloud administrators. In the case of KVM, it's, you know, the KVM live migration. In the case of vSphere, it's their vMotion functionality on vSphere.
All right, terrific. Here's a question that might need a little clarification. In the demo, you are creating EC2 instances, right? Can you also create an on-prem instance off physical hardware resident in the customer's data center off the same UI?
Oh yeah. In fact, you know, let me just start with the clarification that the instances that were being created and everything that you have seen in the demo today is all within a private cloud environment. None of the interactions were with Amazon AWS or EC2. this was purely on Eucalyptus. When you deploy Eucalyptus, you have a AWS-like cloud, that looks and feels like AWS, but it's completely within your firewall, on your infrastructure, in your data center, under your control.
All right, so hopefully that helped clear things up for you, that in fact it is a Eucalyptus instance that we're spinning up. All right, so another question that also might need a little clarification, can the portal connect to a private cloud so that one has the ability to launch in multiple environments? I believe this answer is the same, Shashi, but maybe you want to expand on that?
Yeah, absolutely. So it is, you're right, this actually can talk to a private cloud, and in fact, in this demo, is indeed talking to a private Eucalyptus cloud. We are subsequent, in a subsequent release, we're also adding support such that you can use the same portal and talk to an Amazon AWS cloud or an AWS compatible cloud outside of your firewall if needed. But this one, by default, talks to your own Eucalyptus cloud within your firewall.
All right, terrific. Yeah, there were a couple of questions about that, so hopefully folks who asked similar questions, you got your answer. All right, so Jenny, if you're still online, here's a question from Steve. You had mentioned I think it's called the growl, so maybe you could help explain what that is from a UX perspective, or just for what that is in the user console?
Oh, sure, sure. A growl is just a UX affordance. It's just a little notification that pops down, tells you what's happening, and then if things are working in an optimal way, it just disappears without you having to do anything to it. If something is a failure and it's not working correctly, if, for example, you've tried to launch an instance and that operation fails, the growl, you noticed all the growls were green. That's, green means go, so that's good. If it's an error, the growl will be red, and it stays up until you manually dismiss it so that you don't miss anything that's a failure. But if it's something positive, it just drops down, shows you what's happening, goes away.
All right, terrific. Thank you, Jenny. And question I had missed earlier, do we get VPC-like networking? And Shashi, I don't know if that's something. Okay.
For a minute.
All right.
Yes, I'm here. VPC-like networking is definitely high on the priority. We are adding incremental, we're making incremental progress towards that. Currently, you get EC2 Classic with Eucalyptus, the security groups, the elastic IPs, and whatnot. With VPC, the ability to define VPC subnets or groups, and IP stickiness, and ability to assign multiple network interface cards for instances. They're all on the roadmap for 4.0, which is the version that is going to be after 3.4. 4.0 tentatively is sometime in Q1 of 2014. So you will see a couple of VPC-related functionalities in Eucalyptus 4.0. And whoever asked the question, I would like to follow up with them, kind of understanding, because VPC is a pretty broad concept on AWS, and we would like to understand exactly what the requirements are on which part of VPC are they most keen on seeing in Eucalyptus. So that feedback will be extremely helpful.
Okay. So Shashi, I'll coordinate with you offline and connect you guys.
Thank you.
All right. A few minutes left. Question came in: is VM live migration only available by putting a node into maintenance mode, or is there a command to migrate a VM at any time without putting an NC into maintenance mode?
The basic use case for maintenance mode is indeed to put a node under maintenance so that the administrators can take a node down for maintenance and reinstantiate that node back into the cloud after they're done with the maintenance. But that does not preclude an administrator from doing a live migration on a particular instance.